Hey, international entrepreneurs. Bom dia, boa tarde, or boa noite, wherever you are. Welcome to From Rio to ROI, the channel that helps international entrepreneurs do business either with Brazil or inside of Brazil. Today, I'm going to be tackling a very hot button issue here in Brazil, and not just in Brazil, but outside of Brazil, because as many of you may or may not already know, Brazil does have a bit of a reputation when it comes to the big hot button issue that is called crime, right? And I really want to deal with this. It's very important to me. And in a moment, you'll understand why it's important to me, right? But let's go a little bit back. One of the things that you'll soon discover when you're searching for Brazil, just pop the word Brazil into Google search or YouTube. And one of the most likely things that you're likely to come across is some information, whether it's a video or an article, and it's basically talking about crime in Brazil, right? And it's a fact. There is crime in Brazil, right? But it'll probably surprise you. Many times it's not exactly the way it's portrayed in the international media. To give you one example, very recently there was the NFL game in São Paulo, right? Between I believe it was the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. And before the game took place in São Paulo, the weeks leading up to it, there was an NFL press conference where one of the players basically he was expressing himself and saying how fearful he was of, being here in Brazil and going to Sao Paulo. And he basically said, listen, we were told by the embassy, we were given a list of a bunch of don't do this, don't do that while in Sao Paulo. And it made him feel that, he couldn't leave his hotel room. And, I'm happy to report that once the game and everything was over and they got back to the United States, a lot of the players and the coaches says it was nothing like what they described Brazil to be in the international media about how they were going to get robbed. There were gangs roaming the streets. The police, they would have to have tactical police, like SWAT teams around the building. It was nothing like that. Absolutely nothing. And the thing is, I know that it would have been completely safe for these players here because, as I said before in my intro video, I've been here since 2012. So I know what Brazil is like. And so that's why I want to approach this video more of a nuanced approach than what you are accustomed to seeing in the international media, right? And also give it to you a little bit from the point of view of a foreigner who does understand what it is like to come from a country that really is violent. So I know I have never mentioned this before, but I am actually my native country is Trinidad and Tobago. And for those of you who have never heard about Trinidad and Tobago, it's a country in the Southern Caribbean. The Southern Caribbean, it's near to Central America, right? Pretty much in that area. And when you look at the homicide rates for the most violent countries in the world, right? Trinidad and Tobago is right up there in the top 10 with approximately 36.4 murders per 100,000 people in 2023, right? Now, here's the funny thing. Trinidad is an English-speaking country. We were colonized by the British. It's an English-speaking country in what's called the English-speaking Caribbean. So there are other countries in the English-speaking Caribbean. Here's the funny part. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 most violent countries in the world are from the English-speaking Caribbean. Let me give an example. That in 2023, the top homicide rate came from a tiny country called Saint Kitts and Nevis, which is just part of the English-speaking Caribbean. In second place was Jamaica, with 61 homicides per 100,000 people. In third place was another English-speaking Caribbean country called St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with 46.6 homicides per 100,000. In fourth place, St. Lucia, another English-speaking Caribbean country with 41.7 murders per 100,000. Then we go down the list and we have Belize, right? Even though technically it's a country in Central America, It actually is is the only English-speaking country in Central America, but historically and socially and commercially, it's considered to be part of the English-speaking Caribbean, right? So you can see the trend here, right? So I come from a place that knows violence. It's terrible. It's a lot of my friends and my family back in Trinidad will tell you, if you're from Trinidad and you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know that sensation of crime, of having to lock your doors at night, to close your windows, right? You know that sensation. You don't go out late at night. I can tell you something. Here in Brazil, yes, there are parts that may feel like that, but the vast majority of this country, this 8.5 million square kilometer massive continental sized country, you can sleep with your door open, you can sleep with your window open, you can walk the streets late at night and feel comfortable that nothing, chances are, according to the statistics, which I will get into in a little bit, chances are you're going to be fine, right? And so, as I'm talking about statistics, there are actually two documents. They're in Portuguese, but I will still provide links to those in the description below, just so that you can see for yourself, right? These documents provide statistical data on crime and violence in the country, and it's up to date as of 2023, right? And I'm just going to I just want to briefly run through some of them here, just so you'll get a quick idea of what the panorama of crime is like, really like in Brazil, not the headline stuff, the actual data, what it's really like, right? So this document that I have here is from the Justice and Public Security Ministry, and it is actually called the Public Security Map of 2024, right? And I'm just going to briefly go straight into the ones that really matter. I think it's like 240 pages long, very much in depth. They've got a lot of the graphs and the statistics here, but the ones that matter most, homicide. Just to give you an example, here in the state where I live right now, called Santa Catarina, the homicide rate is 9.1 murders per 100,000 people, right? That's a far cry from Trinidad's 30, how much was it? 36.4? Pretty far cry, right? Rio de Janeiro, as us gringos like to say, as the Brazilians say, Rio de Janeiro, right? The homicide rate in 2023 was 22.21 murders per 100,000, right? And of course, the state of São Paulo. The murder rate for the state of São Paulo was 5.64 homicides per 100,000 people. One of the lowest rates in the Western Hemisphere. Let me repeat that. 5.64 homicides per 100,000. Now, Brazil as a whole, as when you take the entire country together, has a rate of just about 27, right? Murders per 100,000. But you must look at Brazil also as, remember, it's a continental-sized country. So taking it as a whole is not doing it justice. You have to take each one of the individual states, just like the United States, right? When you're comparing murder rates in the United States, you typically break it down by states, right? And that's where you're going to see all the variations, right? Because it's a huge country. The United States, the landmass of the continental United States is massive. It's the same for Brazil. And that's what you have to do. And so this is why I can tell you, I'm speaking from my personal perspective. I do know, yes, Brazilians may come onto this video and they too will also give their perspectives, which are also valid perspectives. But from the perspective, the point of view of someone who comes from a country that ranks amongst the highest, that has the highest murder rate in the world, where the sense of insecurity is always high, right? It's always high. For me, coming here to Brazil was a shock in a good way. I no longer need to close my window, feel like I need to do it. I still do it. I still have that Trinidadian in me. But I still feel safer. I feel a lot safer. And that helps me a lot mentally. As an entrepreneur, you know that you need to be mentally prepared, psychologically prepared, emotionally prepared to take on your day. And one of the last things you want to be dealing with is having in the back of your head, oh my God, I got to go to the bank. Am I going to get robbed? Oh my God, I'm going to go outside to get lunch. Am I going to get mugged? Is somebody going to stab me in my neck? That's one of the things, the sensations that I don't have here while living in Brazil, right? So I just wanted to, give you guys my 2 cents, my opinion on this whole subject matter of, is Brazil safe? What is crime like in Brazil? You're getting the live and direct opinion from someone who lives here, who comes from a place where crime and violence, it's always at 100, right? And I'm telling you, in my opinion, Brazil is an incredibly safe place for entrepreneurs to live, to work, and to build a very productive and healthy life. Okay? So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I am open to all opinions, even if they're different from mine. Please put your comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, right? I'm going to have a lot more interesting videos coming up for you guys, for all my international entrepreneurs who either want to do business with Brazil or inside of Brazil. Okay, guys? So till next time, stay safe.